Alright guys, we're doing the prompt question for chapter 18. The question is, what part does setting play in defining content and tone of this scene? Explain how Hester and author relate to the forest alike and differently.
I think the setting, that since it's in the forest, it shows how it's a whole separate entity from society. It's a whole separate place, and I think it shows, it's representative at least of how Hester and Dimmesdale themselves are separate from society.
So it's like a sense of freedom.
Yeah, I think so, and I think like hope, it provides hope for the future.
Yeah, and since the forest is separate from the society, they're able to themselves be separate from the society, so they can be themselves without being judged. And this is more towards Dimmesdale, because Hester's already herself inside the village, but Arthur has to hide his ways. And so Dimmesdale, when he's in the forest, he's able to be himself, and he's also, in the book it says that he's more lively, he's come back to life in the forest. And so I feel like the forest being a place of just freedom, like you guys said, and just nature and just happiness, they're able to go there and just be themselves, really.
But I feel like this has something to do with Hester too, because Hester, with this freedom, gives her a fierce look at life. Her bold move on taking the Scarlett Letter off, that gave her a fierce look. Yeah.
I also agree, because in the book it says the Scarlet Letter was her passport into regions where other women dared not tread. So obviously Hester is completely different, and she sees the world differently. No other woman or man, for that aspect, would even think of anything like Hester thinks of. They wouldn't see the sin that Hester sees in other people. So what do you think is like the difference between Hester and Dimmesdale? Like,
In sense of what?
like how do you think?
How does the forest?
Yeah, the
Affect
forest.
both
yeah,
of them?
affects both of them
So,
differently.
I feel like the forest I'm going to talk about Hester first. The forest gives Hester just a sense of freedom, because in the village she has freedom too. She can be herself because she doesn't care what people think. But obviously in the forest there's no judgment, so she can just be herself no matter what in there. And then so I feel like the forest shows Hester's true open side, where in the village she can be herself, but to an extent. She can't be as open with her feelings. And obviously her feelings towards Dimmesdale she could never show, but in the forest she does. And then for Dimmesdale, I feel like it's not the opposite, but very different, because Dimmesdale can't be himself at all in the village because of his position in the church. He can't express his love for Hester, for Pearl, because then it would ruin his career and possibly even his life. And so in the forest, when he has this just being separate from the village, he's able to therefore be himself and show his feelings, which affects Pearl, because obviously Pearl doesn't like the guy because he won't even just hold her hand in public. And so I feel like the forest even has an effect on Pearl too, because they can all be themselves, but some people aren't being themselves in the village.
I think another difference that is like stated in the book is, but Hester Prynne, with a mind of native courage and activity, and for so long a period not merely exchanged, but outlawed from society, had habituated herself to such latitude of speculation as was altogether foreign to the clergyman. So even though they're both in the forest and they're free, she is still looking at society different than Dimmesdale would. She's still seeing the corruptness, whereas Dimmesdale's not. I mean, they are free, but it's different for both.
But just like the forest, Hester still seems untouched by society and untouched by the community. She still has her own beliefs and still does what she thinks is right compared to them.
Yeah.
Just like
I would say the forest still gives her more of a sense of freedom, because like evidence to back that up is when she took off her Scarlet Letter, and that's a big step in the book.
Yeah.
Because when she took it off, the book says that she regained her beauty, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like the forest, in a way, gives Hester the opportunity to take off the letter, because in the village she really couldn't. Even though they allowed her at one point to take it off, she still kept it on. Because I feel like the presence of the people of the village is what keeps her on, because she wants people to know of her past. But when she's in the forest and there's no one there to really judge her or give her any judgment, she takes it off because there would be no effect to it. and so I feel like the Force affects her in that way. And then when Dimsdale, he doesn't really repent his sins in a way in the Force. He's just come back to life. So it obviously affects both of them different because Hester's allowed to take off her letter, which gives her a sense of freedom in a way.
Yeah, I also think that Hester, she's stronger than Dimsdale. Like, Dimsdale, all he's doing is taking it inside and obsessing over this morbid zeal of his, while Hester's actually confronted it with it head on, which what is Dimsdale is so afraid to do, which is like the Force. He's just hiding out, you know?
Yeah, he's hiding in the Force.
In the Force, it gives Dimsdale a sense of freedom because usually this is like the first time he talked about what's going on in his life to another person. In Pearl, Hester being in the Force with him, in the Force specifically, is what allows him to talk about it, where he's not in the eyes of all society where they can judge him.
No.
Notice that while she threw off the Scarlet Letter, even Hawthorne was really passionate in this scene. He breaks out of his third-person narrative and he emphasizes, or doesn't emphasize, but he says, "Oh, exquisite relief," as she took off the thing, off the letter.
Her hat.
Her bonnet. But yeah, I noticed that this Force kind of gives everyone, not even just the characters, but the author, a bold, fierce feeling.
Yeah. So this Force is pretty much freedom for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can all agree on that.
Yeah. I think we hit all the main points that we needed to hit.